I've been looking for a while for our next Terrible Tribe to review, and I was looking really hard because there's really hard to find something remotely interesting that wouldn't be just some random animal, profession. Well, I'm gonna tell you, it's really hard to handle. You don't even know how hard. I'm feeling a little bit sick. This way of beginning a video is good as any, so ladies and gentlemen, planeswalkers of all kind, I welcome you to Terrible Tribes, the show where I review Terrible Tribes in the funniest format of Magic the Gathering, Commander. Today we take a look at stupid meme allergies. Of course, by it I meant Ouphe, the group of rather confusing little fae from several planes including Dominaria, Mirrodin, and of course the worst Lorwyn. Why confusing? Because their appearances are inconsistent as early goblins. Also, some creatures that weren't Ouphes at the beginning became them, so yeah, that's gonna definitely be an interesting episode. Also, they have this lad, this absolute unit of a card. Just look at this lad. Absorb his beauty. Anyway, Ouphes can be found mostly in green, but they splash into basically any other color beside red. They do not have legendary creature with the Ouphe subtype, so let's just see what card can they use as a commander. Let's see. Oh, it's you. It's not like I don't like Atraxa, but I got poisoned to death and trampled over by Hydras one time too many to be excited to see her. It's a good commander, I just hope you will not do something degenerate with her. Let's cover the creature lineup, but not too fast. No one wants to be turned into an elk, do we? Glimmer Bayern is a 1/2 Ouphe for 1 green mana with this effect. Sacrifice a token. Glimmer Bayern gains +2/+2 until end of turn. A token, you say? Any kind of token. Interesting. This is the newest member of this tribe, traveling to us up and down and all around from Modern Horizons 2. And it's a reference both to other creature in this tribe and a certain planeswalker go away, about which we're gonna talk about later. It's an okay card with no synergy with any other Ouphe, which is a little bit sad because none of them produces any kind of tokens. Oh well. Brown Ouphe is a 1/1 Ouphe for 1 green mana with this effect. Pay 1 generic mana and 1 green mana. Tap it. Counter target activated ability from an artifact source. Mana abilities can't be targeted by this effect. But why though? Why counter one activated ability when you can disable all of them including mana abilities with the next card? Speaking of which, Collector Ouphe is a 2/2 Ouphe for 1 generic mana and 1 green mana with this effect. Activated abilities of artifacts can't be activated. This ability includes mana abilities. Do you want to know why this card has an effect of Null Rod? Oh, because this kleptomaniac holds it in his big, degenerate, hairy palm. Wanna know something scary? This card and one other card can lock an entire game into a stalemate. I will reveal you why. It's definitely a funky play, or at least an evil one. Play Collector Ouphe and Mycosynth Lattice, and the deed is done. All lands are now artifacts and all activated abilities are completely useless now. And the only way to save this game is killing Collector Ouphe or winning through combat damage. And really, anyone can win at this point. Let's hope it will be you. This card is recommended. It punishes any kind of an overextending deck. And now something completely different. Shelkin Brownie is a 1/1 Ouphe for 1 generic and 1 green mana with this effect. Tap it. Target creature loses all bonds with other abilities until end of turn. Aha. So it does not even remove banding. It removes a worse version of banding, band with other. The more restrictive version of a Storm 11 card, which means that it will never be reprinted unless like the stars collide. And okay, this card is not good. Bad stats, bad cost, bad effect, terrible throughout. Next card, Spellwild Ouphe is a 1/3 Ouphe for 1 generic mana and 1 green mana with funky future sighted border and this effect. Spells that target Spellwild Ouphe cost 2 generic less to cast. I'm a little bewildered by this card, and not only because of the frame. This card suffers a lot from diminishing returns because it would nicely fit into some kind of aura focused deck. And to be honest, several auras are definitely cheaper when casted only. But let's not forget that it could be killed with a single spell, and usually that spell would be at least cheaper by 1. So that whole Tower of Babel you are building throughout the game would crush harder than my hopes and dreams of getting a third Lamia in Adventures of Forgotten Realms. My own vices aside, run this one especially if you want to make some kind of a silly enchantress build. And since we are done with this one, it's time I begin to drink. You'll see why. Brambleforth Thing is a 2/2 Ouphe for 1 generic and 1 green mana with this effect. Pay 8 generic mana. Brambleforth Thing has base, power and toughness 10/10 until end of turn. Activate only if you control an OKO planeswalker. Interesting effect, forcing you to run a planeswalker to activate some kind of ability? Interesting. There's only like 40 cards that share that kind of effect in some form. And who is that OKO character, you say? Okay, prepare yourself. We are going on a tangent. OKO the Trickster is a legendary planeswalker with 4 loyalty counters for 4 generic and 1 green and 1 blue mana with these effects. +1 loyalty. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature you control. 0 loyalty. Until end of turn, OKO the Trickster become a copy of target creature you control. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to him this turn. -7 loyalty. Until end of turn, each creature you control has base power and toughness 10/10 and gains trample. Also, this is the first planeswalker we are covering in this show.
Please clap.
With loyalty climb. Also, introducing counters to this tribe, and 2 counters are better than 1 definitely. The second ability is actually a bit overpowered, because I'm gonna give you an example. You copy with it Darksteel Colossus, and you know what happens next. Grievous casualties and mass trauma. And the last ability that I'm gonna consider his ultimate ability is not actually that good because he's a planeswalker for 6, and planeswalkers in Commander have life expectancy of less than 3 turns. You could still do something really cool with it, but the second ability is strictly better. If you want to focus on the third ability, the new Warring class is a thing that exists, so is Doubling Season if you have the cash money to pay for it. In conclusion of this card, OKO seems pretty powerful and pretty fun. It would be such a shame if this character has a different card about him, which is... Holy shit, this card is banned in 7 formats. Okay, I'm ready. OKO, Thief of Crowns is a legendary planeswalker with 4 royalty for 1 generic, 1 green and 1 blue mana with these effects. +2 loyalty. Create a foot token. It's an artifact with pay 2 mana, tap it, sacrifice this artifact, you gain 3 life. Hey, a token. That supports something. It doesn't seem broken. Okay, what's next effect? +1. Target artifact or creature loses all abilities and becomes a green elk creature with base power and toughness 3/3. -5. Exchange control of target artifact or creature you control and target creature an opponent controls with power 3 or less. If you are still here with us and not packing your bags to play a different card game, congrats! You have not been here while this card was absolutely terrorizing every format. To make a long story short, it's because this card is really cheap and the second ability is absolutely broken, not only making OKO climb loyalty, but it's also an offensive ability, and these abilities are usually put on effects that cost 1 loyalty or 2 loyalty. And how you can use those effects in Commander? Do you really ask? You can snipe commanders, snipe dangerous creatures, dismantle artifact strategies by turning them into elks. Looks like a disruption is a theme for this tribe. Returning to a member of said tribe, Bamboo Fort Thing is pretty worth it when you run both OKOs. Trickster when you want to support some counter spreading, and OKO Thief of Crowns is a goddamn war crime that needs to be absolutely stopped. Next card before I will write a whole Geneva Convention of Commander. Something lighter please. Pick Knight is a 1/1 Ouphe for 2 generic and 1 green mana with this effect. When Pick Knight enters the battlefield, draw a card at the beginning of your next turn upkeep. I know that the creature type on this card says Pick Knight, but this card is an Ouphe now. Accept it. Beside that, effect makes me want to say Profit? Profit? Don't play it. Yeah, that was definitely something lighter, thank you. Twindlehorn Brownie is a 1/1 Ouphe for 2 generic and 1 green mana with this effect. Pay 2 generic mana and 1 green mana, tap it, untap target creature. Haha, screw you Blinding Mage and Chillbringer, you're completely useless now. Even though, who would run these cards in a Commander outside of some ultra specific meme deck? And that should tell you why you should run this card. Also, I do not trust that this guy didn't put a sharp flint into the snowball. That's it, I just don't trust him. Hoove Bundles are a 2/2 Ouphe Rogue for 2 generic mana and 1 green mana with this effect. Pay 1 green mana, sacrifice Hoove Bundles, counter target activated ability from an artifact source and destroy that artifact if it's on the battlefield. Mana abilities can't be targeted by this effect, of course. If you are interested in such an effect, I recommend you to run this card, the Brown Ouphe, and Disallow. Maybe you'll do something special with it. Have fun! Dark Urchins, a 4/3 Ouphe for 2 generic and 1 black mana with this effect. Whenever Dark Urchins attack or block, put a -1/-1 counters on it. When Dark Urchins dies, draw a card for each -1/-1 counter on it. If I got a basic land for each Ouphe with a delayed draw ability, I would have 2 lands, which is not much, but it's interesting that it happens twice. This card was originally printed as a punish to Wither ability, which applies damage to creatures in form of -1/-1 counters instead of a normal damage. I think it should sound familiar. And the way it punishes is rather simple, it simply replenishes your hand. Do you want to know a funky play how to draw a 1 card more than you usually draw from this creature? Okay, here's one. Just equip Skull Clamp to it, then block an attack, and bam, you'll draw 4 cards instead of 3, which is definitely pretty nice. Kitchen Things is a 3/2 Ouphe for 1 generic and 2 Selesnya, with these effects. When Kitchen Things enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life. Persist. When this creature dies, if it has no -1/-1 counters on it, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a -1/-1 counter on it. In a vacuum, this card doesn't seem that much powerful, because life gain is not that powerful of an ability, but Persist changes everything, facilitating some infinite combos. Yes, infinite combos that grant you as much life as you want, theoretically getting even to infinite. But how to achieve it? I'll show you how. Play Kitchen Things alongside with a non-red permanent that sacrifices creatures. For this presentation I will use Phyrexian Altar. I'm sorry Thermapod, but you have to be on color ID. And then play a card that blocks counters from being put on creatures, like Solemnity, Melira Silver Outcast, or Vesir of Remedies, and then sacrifice kitchen things to the altar over, getting the effects of both cards and being basically able to get as much life and as much mana as you want. So play at nausea and basically win at this point, or you can just combo until your opponents quit the game. But how big of an ass are you to do it? Do not answer that, we both know. Glimmer Bayern is a 1/3 Ouphe for 1 generic and 2 simic mana with this effect. Pay 2 generic and 1 simic, untap it. Double the number of each kind of counter on target permanent. I know the card text says something different, but trust me, this is what they intended to write here. Trust me, this card can double any kind of counters on target permanent. The keyword is any and target. The only problem that this requires you to untap this child of nature in a frog suit to get the rewards. So run Cryptoleaf, right? Cryptoleaf, right? Yeah, run Cryptoleaf, right. And if you want to build a counter-focused strategy with Ouphes, play also these suspects. They definitely gonna help you reap some rewards. And now, this tongue twister. Niall Sylvian is a 2/2 Ouphe for 3 green mana with this effect. Pay 4 green mana, tap it, regenerate target creature. This art is definitely something fierce, something from beyond the Veil of Feywild, with the effect that is just kinda okay. Single regeneration for 4 mana, especially when it's 4 colored mana, is not that great, but saving up 1 thing after a board wipe is kinda worth it. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's only worth to run if you like the art, because it's definitely something. And because we can never finish on something good or at least something interesting, here are Ari Ouphes. It's a 3/3 Ouphe for 4 generic and 1 green mana with these effects. Sacrifice Ari Ouphes. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature with flying. Persist. I needed a moment to find a good use for this creature, and I think I found one. It could save you from a moment where your opponent has too much flyers to handle. Focusing on flyers because it will still do nothing to the Sehiri Cat combo. Anyway, if you want to use it in such a way, prepare the Persist engine, and then you can turn this measly 2 creature killer into an aircraft gun that will just shut down everything on the field. At least when it has flying, then it sparks something in me. Oh yeah, you can use mongers with it, especially a sailmonger, because it grants flying to things, so you can just make them fly and then bam bam bam, they're gone. But it's still a bit of an edge case. A fun edge case to be sure, but it's not as powerful as a certain other creature with Persist. You know the one. And we are done. Yeah, it wasn't that strong of an ending, so stare at him for a moment, and we can go to my list. Recovery gets mixed, leaning slightly toward positive, because they just don't really need recovery, because of single target universal regenerator and the sheer tenacity of Persist as an ability. It feels like I need to add protection to the future of this list. Good thought. Evasion is not even close to be considered a joke. None of them can really provide some, and the only one that does it on an ultimate ability. Yeah, it's negative score. Critical mass is just critically bad. Negative score up front. They are small, they do not create tokens. It's really hard to play them offensively. So yeah, negative score. Synergy is kinda weird, because they suffer a lot from diminishing returns. There's a lot of way to build them, but if you try to mix them, they usually screw each other over, with Solemnity and Dark Urchins just not working together. And there's probably more situations like this, but this is the only one I can think on top of my head. I think I should just give them me so I do not have to touch or even talk about it. Ouphes are definitely something, a very weird something. It's really hard to put finger on what they are supposed to be. Are they anti-artifact, OKO's entourage, off-brand Atox? Oh boy, Atox are gonna be really fun when I'm gonna finally reach them. Even I'm getting a little bit of a tangent. What can I say really? They are just very fey. A very confusing little fey. So I will just wait for more support for them. Maybe they will crystallize some kind of a playstyle. Because now they are just parts of an engine. Well, part of several engines just scattered about. And here's list of worthy and worthless oofs. I would definitely recommend running the worthy oofs and not running the worthless. And here is the list if you want to play OKO. They do not get an award because they have OKO and they did not deserve an award in the slightest. I definitely need a cold shower after this episode.
Cold? Why did I thought it was a good idea to have a cold shower? I'm sick. What the hell is wrong with me? Cold, 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 cold. Ugh. You know, actually.
Ladies and gentlemen, planeswalkers of all kind, thanks for watching. I deeply recommend subscribing and sending me Terrible Tribes to review. I'm Ouphe of Special MTG, and I hope we meet again.